Welcome back to the Convo Couch, everyone. Pasta Jardula here.
And I'm Fiorella.
And Johnny Sue is still spinning on the ones and twos. I took it down a notch. At least give me some credit over there.
You did.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, get over to our Rokfin if you haven't yet. Rokfin. We are pumping up that can't be us. No way.
Yeah.
No, it says active subscribers.
Yeah.
We don't have 328. We had 91 yesterday.
And maybe we have more. I don't know. No?
Well, that's got to be. Well, listen, we were trying to get to 100. We were like 9 away from doing it, ladies and gentlemen. You can help us out if you can afford it. And if you can't, don't worry. If you can't afford it, just sign up for free and watch advertisement-free content like we show all day. There's a Californians little video I did with some lawyers that are really talking about AB 15, AB 3088.
What is that?
California law about what we can do as far as the rents and the moratoriums and the what isn't and stuff like that. So it's specific to Californians, but we put it on Rokfin yesterday for 8 hours before it was released this morning on YouTube's. And we're going to try to do stuff like that here we can. We'll try to release it first.
Yeah, the only issue I have with Rokfin, sometimes it takes forever to upload a video.
It does take a long time to upload a video, but it is clean.
Yeah.
A la limpio, and we should use it more.
No, I agree. I'm just saying
often.
It takes me forever to upload the video.
So, look at this. We walked right in Circus 1976. He tipped us right away. Thank you so much, Roar Media. We love you. We see that you're going on the Rokfin right now yourselves. So good morning, Sunday morning, Friday morning, fam. And why we're here and what we're here so early for is that we have a case going, the hearing, the Raji Rab case that we've been following for a while. You know how we are about election integrity, the fight for data, the fight for fairness, the fight for transparency. Johnny, if you could say something, because Johnny's been following this case very closely. What are you expecting out of today, Mr. Majorca?
So on January 6th, we saw the judge gave a tentative ruling to Raji. I don't know if you watched that with us. You can find that on her page. January 6th, it was the day of the Capitol
insurrection.
And
oh, shit. Start over, Johnny.
Johnny,
all right,
what are you expecting out of today's case?
So last time, January 6th, there was another hearing on the motion to compel. Raji put a motion to compel to get the inspection done. And then the respondents, Logan and everybody else, they put a, a protective order, which, and they specifically asked a protective order on the logs and of the computer systems. And the judge actually came back on that ruling. We didn't report on that she, after the hearing, she said she granted the protective order to the to respondents, Logan, Secretary of State, and Board of Supervisors.
Kind of elaborate what that means.
She gave them protection. So now, if anybody wants to go inspect the machines, there's a protective order. Not even just in Raji's case, in anybody's case.
In anybody's case.
So that's
so
a
the
big
public
deal.
is shut out too.
Yeah. Everybody's shut out. They'll just reference this case and they'll be like, "Yeah, we have a protective order." So that's a big deal. And then at the same time, she denied Raji's motion to compel. So yeah, it was a double whammy, and he also had to pay sanctions.
Yes, triple whammy on.
It was a triple whammy. So, so then now we're back here, and this is today we're gonna see the trial on merits. First it would have been demur, the trial on the demur, and then on the merits. She gave a tentative ruling out yesterday. Yesterday.
Tentative ruling.
It arrived at Raji's email at 3:30, and he had to respond by 4 p.m.
They do this shit all the time.
This is crazy.
But Johnny, our elections are fair.
So
is this QAnon?
The tentative ruling arrived at 3:30 yesterday, and then he responded at 4. He had to call before 4 to say that, I want a hearing tomorrow. The judge gave a tentative ruling blocking the demur because Dean Logan and I'm going to call Dean Logan, Secretary of State, and Board of Supervisors respondents, because that's what they're called. The respondents filed a demur, which basically is they're saying that there was no cause of action, no factual allegations in Raji's case, and that's just false. So the judge actually denied the demur, but then she went on to give a ruling on the merits of the case, and she denied she basically let me read. Let me pull it up for you guys.
And just so you guys know, Secretary of State is what was Alex Padilla. He is now going to be the senator.
He's already been sworn in.
He's already been sworn in for California, even though he had another lawsuit against him as well for fraud, besides this one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, geez. I mean, Kamala Harris was under investigation for stuff going on, too, as well. Joe Biden was under investigation.
Impeach all of them. Impeach.
Yeah. While Johnny's pulling this up, let's say hi to some people, because it's going to be an upsetting
Karen M.
day. Karen M. Always holding it down with the wrench over there. We love you. Will, Kaden Rodriguez, Niko, what's up? Jay Berg.
I saw what Frank did with his panel, and I think we should do something like that with the moderators.
Oh, totally. I mean, I think it will be a lot of fun. Get some people on too, and I also want to have some of the newer podcast people on we haven't had on. We've been on their shows. We need to have Frank and Alice on our show, Jackson Hinkle on our show. Maybe bring back Jackson Fax, get him spinning them there.
Tom, what's his name? Tom from
Tom
what was
Berry.
his show? Tom Berry, yes.
Dude, I love that dude. Came over there and defended me on Twitter.
Tom Berry's great.
Dude, I watched his shows. I mean, that's a show. Like, if he did that every single day. What's up, Jay Bird?
Misty and people to have Misty and Jesse on.
And we haven't even had, like, Burmis on here. We haven't had Poikin on. Like, I'm talking, like, non-Assange stuff. Like, bring them on in and stuff. So we should
see what they know about Medicare for all.
Kaden Rodriguez, get Richie Medhurst on. We've had Dick Medhurst on several times.
Yeah,
we've had plenty of Dick on the show.
See, he does that, like, and I don't know if Richie loves it or not, but he just laughs. But
I don't want to hear anything. As soon as we had him on, he changed his name from Papi Chulomin to Rich Medhurst. So Richard Medhurst. So we can take liberty in saying that we can call him Dick. I like it.
Pasta likes to do that more than anything.
Oh.
I love Dick. I've
have
called him
fun with
Dick,
it.
but you literally say like, oh, we have plenty of Dick before or some
You
shit
said
like
last
that.
show we're gonna do him at 10 o'clock. We're gonna get our Dick early.
No, that's not what I said.
Yeah, you did.
Did I say that?
Yes, you did.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And Niko said one day on the thread when he said something really raw out there, that's a strong dick. Yeah, that dick's going hard.
So this is what happens in the morning when you watch the Convo Couch
Dick
before 12 p.m. This is what happens.
Let me get hydrated. I know what I'm not saying. Hey, guys, get over to that Rokfin. Kathy Looney's over there. She's listening while at work, so be quiet. Don't talk to her. Brian Carroll's there. We love you guys.
I would like to have Richard on about Syria, though, because I put it in the folder today. What's going on with Syria? We're going to do a show after this, like just, you know.
Put your seatbelts on because Blinken's back in power with Biden. And you better believe these are the people who started this whole thing.
And Bernie confirmed Avril Haines.
Yes, he did.
He confirmed. He could have said no, by the way, you
with
guys.
The mittens.
Yeah. Everybody's like, Bernie mittens. Well, Bernie #mittens just confirmed what she's a torturer.
Yeah.
She's a CIA torturer.
Yeah.
Dude, the browser just like froze on me.
But yeah, so we're gonna be talking about
that. Happens to me when I come off a sports surge.
Yesterday,
Red Sea Socialist is here.
Red Sea Socialist. I loved hearing you on that panel. That was amazing.
That whole panel was great.
Panel
was awesome. The guys that
Ali,
were on there were
Red Sea, the
awesome.
guys. I didn't catch their name, all of their names, but they were.
Franco's mic wasn't off most of the time. You know what I'm saying?
Pasta, you're so obnoxious. Not everybody is like, has a Johnny.
I want to hear him, what he has to say.
It was somebody didn't have their shit muted, and you could keep hearing like the car or whatever the hell it was. So make sure you mute your stuff. But other than that, it was a really great show.
Shanda and Oz on for
the
actual show too as well, breakdown and stuff. We've been on their show so many times, so
we need to have them.
We got to start having these people on our show.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying? Hey, listen, I'm going to reach out to all the Gray Zone people, try to get them going, get it on the show. We've been in contact with them. We saw them at the Action for Assange protest, so we have to have them on the show. You want to talk Syria, girl? Let's bring them in. Let's get them going.
All right, so this is the tentative ruling that came out yesterday
At
at 3:30 p.m. and Raji had to respond. I'm going to show you where it says that he has to respond by 4. It says it right.
Restore our integrity to our democracy.
Right here. If a hearing is requested, any party desiring an official record of the proceedings shall make arrangement for reporting services with the clerk of the department no later than 4:30. Okay, it was 4:30, so he had an hour to respond on the day before the hearing.
Yeah, I know.
The fee is $30 for civil proceedings lasting under 1 hour, and then $239 per half day. Just so y'all know that this is how. Oh shit, that's how they do things. Okay, so here's the order. Intro. Before the court, 2 matters: the merits of a petition for writ of mandate brought by Raji Rab to challenge the results of the California's primary election held on March 3rd, 2020, and 2 demurs to that petition. For the reasons stated below, the court exercises its discretion to decide this case, even though it's technically moot. What she means by that is that there's no the election results are over. The election's over. The results have been certified.
Yep.
So technically, it's moot, right?
That's what they were waiting for this right here, so they can just do this.
Well, she still decided on the case, even though it is technically moot. So that kind of helped Raji, because she could be like, "Oh yeah, it's moot," and then not decide.
That's what they always do, the Democratic Party.
It finds it's unnecessary to rule on the demurs. That sentence, she didn't blatantly cancel the demurs. She just said it's unnecessary. So yeah, she dismissed the demurs, but she denies the petition on the merits. So here's the background. I can go over this if you want. They go over how Raji came in 4th place. Raji's like, those are fraudulent results, so I don't understand why you're showing that.
Could you show those results 1 second again, too, as well?
So Brad Sherman has 99,000 votes. Mark S. Reed, 38,000. C.J. Barina, 18,000. Raji Rob, 7,900. So what they repeat this. Raji Rob came in a distant 4th. He believes his 4th place finish can only be explained by fraud, malconduct, or an error in the vote counting. Like the whole language in this whole ruling.
Like he's crazy.
Like it's completely biased. Like it's crazy. Like you never see a judge talk like this. Like you'll see here at the end. Let me show you what it says.
You will with election cases.
Even if he were to be wrong, let's just look at the data and figure it out. You don't have to have your freaking opinion. You're supposed to be a non-partial judge, right? What's the point of having a judge if they're going to be obviously partial?
Yeah,
well, all these cases suck too as well, and now with everything they're doing, we're trying to expand the Voting Rights Act and stuff. What they are trying to do is make it easier for them to cheat.
We need to do a whole video.
Yeah, we got to be. We should probably do it on Rokfin only. But Johnny, go ahead with the show more of this language. I mean, how the fuck can they put that in there? I'm so sorry for cursing, but he finished a different 4th, and the only way it could be is as he's suggesting if it's fraudulent. It's like they're shaming other people from even trying the protest, because that's what people say. You're going to be a baby?
Yeah, they're painting the picture like, he's just a sore loser.
Exactly.
That's a picture.
That's what they do.
That's why a lot of people don't want to talk
about
it.
That's what the respondents did. That's what Dean Logan, Board of Supervisors, and Secretary of State did. And then it's like she's copying and pasting.
Exactly.
Which is really interesting. So this is an abbreviated description of the case, and this is her description of the case. So it's a little biased, but I'm going to go over it anyways. So Raji Rab was running for House of Representatives, 30th Congressional District, March 3rd, 2020 primary. April 8th, Rab filed a petition for writ of mandate. There are numerous challenges. You don't really have to go through all this. It's if you go to my Medium articles, you can see his full second amended writ, because he had the original petition and then he amended it. So that was the first amended, and then after they tried to demur that one, he did a second amended writ. So this case has been in the courts for over 10 months now, or it's been nearly 10 months. Okay. So yeah, on September 3rd, the court issued an order granting respondents demur with limited leave to amend the first cause of action. Basically, the court dismissed the case with limited leave to his first cause of action, which was malconduct, fraud. It was fraud. Everything else that she dismissed, she's like, you can't use that. So then he made a second amended writ, and then we'll just go down to the allegation and the evidence. So the court begins by noting that the petition is verified and there's been 26 exhibits. The petition contains one cause of action pursuant to Elections Code 1660-100, subdivision A and G. So what she was saying in her last demur, where he had to amend his petition, was that you have to file an election contest in California under these election codes, 16-100, and there's A through G, or A through F or G or something, and he has to pick out. You have to use that. So if you're going to file an election fraud lawsuit, you have to use election code 16-100, and that's why having a lawyer is good. But Raji's representing himself, and he's still got it underway. Those two subdivisions allow an elector to contest an election on the following grounds: 1, the precinct board of any member thereof was guilty of malconduct, and 2, there was an error in the vote counting programs or summation of ballot counts. Those are Raji's election contests there. Let's see, it's 10:49. We're 10 minutes out. Rob alleges the registrar took his votes, gave them to his opponents, and thereby robbed them his rightful victory. If proven, these allegations would certainly constitute malconduct and almost by definition would establish an error in the vote counting. Rob also alleges that county violated Election Code 15101B.
Yep.
So the way it works is that 15101B, when you guys see Elections Code, that means election law. So he's saying that they violated election law section 15101B, which states, this is the crux of the case here, because you'll be hearing a lot about this. It says any jurisdiction having the necessary computer capability may start to process vote-by-mail ballots on the 10th business day before the election. Processing vote-by-mail ballots includes opening vote-by-mail ballot return envelopes, removing ballots, duplicating any damaged ballots, and preparing the ballots to be machine-read or machine-reading them, including processing write-in votes so that they can be tallied by the machine. But under no circumstances may a vote count be accessed or released until 8 p.m. on the day of the election. When you guys hear this, when you guys read this, what does this thing mean to you? What
It means that there should be no early counting whatsoever, that you can prepare the ballots, you can do whatever you got to do, but if any time that you try to access a count before Election Day that night, it's illegal and it's fraudulent.
It breaks election code.
It breaks the election law and the election code. And that is the whole, I think you want to also talk about the fact that once it is, and see, how do they keep on saying that preparing the ballots to be machine read or machine reading them? Like, how can they even put that down?
Machine reading.
Yeah,
but machine reading is very, very
it
ambiguous.
automatically gets a count, right?
No. It's very ambiguous.
It's
not trusting. Remember when they were testing the machines, they weren't. It could be anything, but also
So remember we went to Pomona?
Yeah.
And
well, that's the signature verification. That's everything up until the point of the tabulation,
and
right?
You know what?
Yeah, but that's what you're doing.
Phil said. He said we're just processing vote by mail ballots. That's
Yeah,
what he
yeah.
said.
No, but we're talking about when they go to Norwalk, or is it Downey, when they put them through the tabulation machines.
The tally operation.
That's the whole
Yeah.
area where it's like that's not legal.
Exactly.
And we want to see, how can they not just show us that they didn't access it?
So what I'm saying is that 15101B is the Pomona Center that we saw. That's all good.
That's good.
Once it arrives it can arrive at the tally operation center,
but they can't
as soon
go
as
to
you
the machine.
scan them through, because the machine is a 2-in-1, and they have actually admitted it now, because before they were denying.
They were
saying the tally machine is a separate machine. That's what they said in verified statements. So then at one point Raji claimed that there was fraud upon the court, which is a big, huge claim, saying that the lawyers lied and that respondents lied to the court. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that was a huge deal, and they actually made a big deal about that.
They knew in that tally machine when we asked them, well, there's on election night, they'll press a button and will give us a number. I'm like, that's what they're telling you guys? Somebody's on the back end going.
Well, that's the same thing with the general election. They were saying like they just started counting mail-in ballots that arrived. It's like, no, we know that they were already counting those mail-in ballots, which is why those numbers don't make any sense.
They lead the public to think that the mail-ins are counted last. Like they count on first, and then they start counting the mail-ins. It's like, no, we've saw about 2 million mail-ins
when we
already processed.
When we went to Phil,
exactly.
he said 2 million.
Yeah.
He said 2 million.
2 million already by this time. Because they count hundreds of thousands per minute. Before we start this case, should I read through a couple super chats real quick, Johnny?
Yeah, real quick.
All right, Gabriel Ramirez, what's up, fan? Hope you're doing well. Can you do a show on local government like city, county, school boards, and water districts? Of course, Gabriel, get at us. We got your message. It was a busy day yesterday. We're always open for you, brother. We love you. You are
not
fam.
For everybody, but
For fam.
not for corrupt mofos.
Muhammad Afzal. Thank you so much, Muhammad. You're always late to the party, but you at least get here. Actually, you're kind of quite early to the party always. David, thank you for the Keep It Up super sticker. We do appreciate it. And Seaman Stains. It's the best name over here. Seaman Stains. How you doing? Thank you for the super chat contribution, Seaman Stains. It's always appreciated on the counts. I have something that will get that right out. The Seaman Stain? Is that what you're talking about? That's disgusting, Seaman Stains. But hysterical.
The morning show.
200 people. They're a little jumpy on the morning show. There's only 8 watching on the Rokfin. Get over there. Andrea's over there chilling out. I'm also listening while working. Not working so well, though. TGIF. TGIF.
All right.
So real quick, let's go over the story that Raji said. He said, according to the allegations of petition, Rob went to observe the vote tally at Downey Operations Center on the evening of the primary. Before he arrived, he was shocked to learn that New York Times had already called the race in favor of his opponent, Brad Sherman, despite the fact that the polls were still open. When he arrived at the Operations Center, he began asking questions about when the county began scanning and tabulating vote-by-mail ballots, as I would if I was a contestant, too. Be like, how are the results out already? And he got what he believed were conflicting or unsatisfactory answers. In a nutshell, Rob believes Election Code 5101 prohibits the county from scanning vote-by-mail ballots until 8 p.m. on the day of the primary election, and that the county violated this prohibition. As discussed below, Rob's belief is simply wrong.
Can we talk about this part, Johnny, when you're ready?
Yeah, real quick.
Okay, so we arrived with, how many times do we hear this all the time while people are still in live? And this is Raji, a candidate, going, whoa, the New York Times is calling, what the hell's going on?
And when you ask the New York Times why they can call it so early, it's because there's a pattern and they already know that the pattern's going to go a certain way. Yes. Why the hell did that not happen for Bernie? Why the hell did that not happen for Trump? Because they decided, oh, no, we can't call it. Yeah. There's so many things coming in now. Yeah. Do you not see that there's a lack of consistency with their reasoning?
Yep.
Like, it doesn't make any sense. If that is true, if what happened to Raji is factual, that there's a pattern and this is why they called it early, then why didn't that happen with Donald Trump or Bernie Sanders? That's what we're saying, and nobody's fucking talking about that.
Yeah. See, in other words, the majority of the primaries they called against Bernie Sanders around 60%.
Yeah.
Texas, when we took down our show. Michigan, whoa, how can you call it at 60%? Well, there's enough voting sample size where it's a pattern, and we know it doesn't deviate outside that pattern because it's like a deck of cards with the way they come on in. So to think for a second that if you think that it's possible that Joe Biden in Wisconsin can get 138,000 ballots at the end of the night because Chris Cuomo says they're mail-ins, then why wasn't Bernie Sanders afforded the same chances? Why did they call him at 60% if there's a chance that can come in? Which, because is the truth, is that they know that it doesn't come in, that sample size has been set. They should have called these states, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Georgia, for Trump at 70%, the highest, because he was so far ahead. And no, it's not just the mail-in ballots coming in at the very end. They were coming in mixed with all the voting mails for that day. And in fact, the majority of those mail-ins were processed and then counted first. And that's the thing that people don't realize. That's why it's so messed up when people are just like, you have no evidence, evidence-free. Guess what? You have no evidence that it's right.
You don't know what you're talking about. In other words,
you don't know
some of these
you don't
people.
know what you're talking about.
No, Raji, the evidence that the court decides with is the fucking statements from Logan, the declarations from Logan, and
he's an honest guy,
declarations from his worker, and the certifications from the SOS. So that's the evidence that the judge is making this decision on.
Yeah. And he knows he slipped Oliveira. Was it Oliveira is his name or?
Alex Oliveira, yeah.
Oliveira. He slipped. He was like, oh shit. The first time, this was 2018 or 2016. when he said that they count him early. And he was like, oh, wait, no.
No, 2020. That was...
It was 2020? I thought it was 2018 he said that because the second time.
2018...
because that's what led him on the 2020.
He slipped on something else.
He slipped on...
It was 2020 because we were there when he said it, I think.
No. We weren't there for that time. He told us about that. But John met him that night.
In the primary. Got it. Yeah. So it was 2020. Yeah, it was. Yeah. But these guys, I mean, that's the whole thing, is that a lot of people don't know what's going on. We found out in New Hampshire that the workers don't know what's going on. They're told one thing, they repeat that shit like it's truth. Oh, there's nothing going on. These are honest elections. We're good here. How many times did we prove that there are no airdrops in these machines, that they are connected to the intranet? Fam, that's illegal.
Yep.
And by the way, I called twice the courts to make sure that they live streamed this time, because last time we only got the last 15 minutes. Yeah. Which is fucking like you're restricting public access. Like, this is supposed to be a publicly available court case.
Yeah. She started in with that shit. Well, we don't do every single case out there. He's like, this isn't the public interest. This is about elections. Can you make sure that it's on?
Yeah.
Number 27.
So
hit that button.
Exactly. As a result of his belief, Rob was convinced that the county employees were lying to him, and he was observing a scandal unwinding in front of his eyes, and the entire election ballot tally operation was an illusion, a smoke screen to fool the public. Let's see. According to Rob, Dean Logan accessed the ballot count, tampered with the results, took the majority of petitioners' votes, and gave them to petitioner's opponents. Raji's the petitioner, thus robbing petitioner of his rightful victory. The evidence proffered by Rob to prove these allegations consists entirely of declarations from two self-identified experts. Okay, so in his new second amended writ, Raji got two experts with 20-plus years of experience in database architecture and programming, computer science, and IT. These guys have over 20 years of experience. The experts have reviewed documentation regarding the county's voting system and provided an explanation of how it works. I want to pull up the thing here. Hold on one second. I want you guys to see this diagram.
Yeah, and the experts basically found that there's evidence of tampering. Like, and this isn't the first time.
There's evidence of accessibility, is what they said. That a bad actor could go with a password and access it.
That's it. It's easy. Just show us the logs.
Just show us the logs.
Just show us the logs.
Raji
even said that.
That's what the smoking gun is.
He goes. I won't even touch it. I'll stand behind with my arms behind my back, and you just pull up the logs for us.
Yeah.
Maria Estrada requested that stuff, but they won't say, we're protecting people's information.
Yeah, now
we got
to
protect protecting employees. And now Alex Padilla is trying to actually make it harder for you to request data on the registration books.
Right.
And didn't you hear yesterday on that new law that they're going to take away the state's rights to check those books to make sure that they're accurate and stuff like that, because that's how they can swing an election. And by the way, Crayon Mouth, hope you're feeling better. Love you, brother. If you look on the right side network, you can pull up the Georgia hearing. They should have it on there, and you can find he was looking for Pulitzer, Javon Hutton Pulitzer, I believe his name is, his testimony about being connected to the internet. You'll find it there. We going live? There's Raji Rob.
All right, we're starting the case. Clint Woods is the Deputy Attorney General of the California, and he's representing Secretary of State Padilla.
Who's Taylor?
All right. Was anyone expecting anyone else to join the Zoom session? I have
Your Honor, I believe Eva Chu with LA County may be joining Zoom.
I see her. I'll let her in.
No one on our end, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Woods, are you arguing? You're not arguing today, are you?
If necessary, Mr. Pohl will take the lead for the respondents.
Okay. Ms. Chu, are you able to hear me?
Yes, Your Honor. Good morning.
Good morning. Okay.
All right. So Clint Woods is the counsel of the Secretary of State. He's public counsel. They
That's
also
okay.
have a private law firm. Taylor J. Pohl is the
You want me to have him give a test?
Collins and
All right.
Collins.
Mr. Rob, can you just state your name? I'm just testing the sound for my
Private
court
law
reporter.
Raji Rab, petitioner.
Mr. Pohl.
Taylor Poll for the County of Los Angeles.
Is it this that's too loud, Amy?
There's Raji Rab, pro
Mr.
se
Rob, could you state your name again for me?
patriot.
Raji Rab, petitioner.
Just when people watch this case,
Okay, looks like we're good.
judges. Shut up.
We'll
They
go
don't give us
ahead
any
and
help, these
go on the
judges.
record then.
Hundreds of
You have
cases.
everything you need, Jason?
Not on standing.
All right, calling the matter of Raji Rab versus the Secretary of State et al., case 34-2020-803363. Could I ask the parties to please state your appearance for our record, starting with the petitioner?
Petitioner Raji Rab.
Thank you. And the respondents?
Taylor Poll for the County of Los Angeles and Mr. Dean Logan, Registrar Recorder, County Clerk.
Eva
All right.
Chu for the County of Los Angeles and Dean Logan, Registrar Recorder, County Clerk.
And Clinton Woods from the Department of Justice on behalf of the Secretary of State.
All right, thank you. The matter is before the court for a hearing on demurs as well as a hearing on the merits of the petition. The court did issue a tentative ruling yesterday. Was there anyone that did not receive that? Looks like everyone received it. And my understanding, Mr. Rob has asked for a hearing today. So Mr. Rob, I will allow you to go first.
First of all, yeah, go ahead.
Speak too quickly. I may stop you if my court reporter needs to have you go back.
First of all, Your Honor, it's been a pleasure having present in your court, and it's been an honor. I would like to request your patience while I make my statement, because I'm here to contest and argue the tentative on merits, and I need to make a record. And I'd like to
Absolutely.
make that statement with your patience, Your Honor. I'd like to start with the case law presented by respondents, CR Plaintiff and Appellant versus Tenet Healthcare Corporation. It is a generally accepted rule, however, that in order to state a cause of action against defendant for a wrong committed by his servant, the ultimate fact necessary to be alleged is that the wrongful act was in legal effect committed by defendant. This may be alleged either by alleging that defendant by his servant committed the act, or without noticing the servant by alleging that defendant committed the act. Your Honor, petitioner alleges that respondents committed malconduct under Election Code 16100A and violated Election Code 15101B, which states any jurisdiction having the necessary computer capability may start to process vote by mail on the 10th business day before the election. Processing vote by mail ballots includes opening vote by mail ballot, return envelopes, removing ballots, duplicating any damaged ballots, and preparing the ballots to be machine read or machine reading them, including processing write-in votes so that they can be tallied by the machine. But under no circumstances may a vote count be accessed or released until 8 p.m. on the day of the election. All other jurisdictions shall start to process vote by mail ballots at 5 p.m. on the day before election. Your Honor, petitioner points to the language in the Election Code 15101B, which in part states what processing includes, machine read and machine reading. But the last part in the statute, which is the controlling part, states what cannot happen. That is, under no circumstances may a vote count be accessed or released until 8 p.m. on the day of the election. Thus, accessing cast votes before 8 p.m. election day, including machine reading them, is malconduct. Petitioner here has a legitimate fundamental disagreement with the tentative on the statute, Election Code 15101B, canon of construction, that the statute must be read as a whole. Under no circumstances may a vote count be accessed or released until 8 p.m. on the day of the election. Machine reading is accessed. Inartful drafting. If the votes have been read, how are they not accessed? Machine reading is accessed. And malconduct before 8 p.m. election day. Respondents misinterpret Election Code 15101B, which describes processing and preparing ballots for machine read, but it does not state to scan, decode voter intent, or access cast vote record before 8 p.m. election day. Malconduct under Election Code 100A, Election Code 16100A includes machine reading, scanning, decoding, voter intent, accessing, counting cast vote records before 8 p.m. election day. This is malconduct. Words cannot be added in the election code. I will cite, we will not add words it has chosen to omit. See Hampton versus County of San Diego. Ordinarily, Your Honor, ordinarily, we are not free to add text to language selected by the legislature. Rojas versus Superior Court. Court order dated September 3, para 2 states that you cannot put ads in the statute. Neither petitioner nor this court may add words to section 16100 that the legislature has not seen fit to include. See Becerra versus Superior Court. Similar action equally applies to Election Code 15101B. Therefore, words should not be added to 15101B. Surely, the violation of law is malconduct. Ballots scanned improperly days before 8 p.m. election day is malconduct because it's before the statute allows it. According to case law cited by respondent in require states that erroneous conduct is malconduct, even if it's an honest mistake without wrongful intent. In county's respondent's brief opposition to SAW, respondent states in para 17, line 3, that scanning occurs after processing. This is a clear admission that scanning is not processing. Court order dated September 3 in part states, this case raises issues of substantial and continuing public interest that arises from situations that are capable of repetition, yet awaiting review. Indeed, a repetition of election malconduct took place in the November 3 elections. Petitioner is not the only candidate complaining about malconduct. Identical election contests were recently filed in the Sacramento courthouse. Although respondents stated throughout the proceedings that Smartmatic Tally VSAP are not two-in-one function machines or system, petitioner presented verified declarations by experts with over 20 years of programming and database architecture experience with county diagram bait number 0000238 of Tally system that upon scanning ballots, voter intent is decoded, converted into CVRs and accessed by Smartmatic Tally, VSAP. But respondent's evidence is made on declaration by the accused respondent himself and his assistant registrar. Now, Aman Bullard's declaration admits that scanner and Tally work in conjunction with each other. VSAP Tally is primarily comprised of software and hardware. Bullard declaration, page 2, paragraph 3, line 20. Therefore, VSAP Tally is a two-in-one system where scanner is the hardware and Tally is the software. Scanner scans and voter intent is instantly decoded and accessed by the Tally. Your Honor, according to the court reporter transcript, page 25, line 2, in the hearing on August 28, petitioner repeatedly requested the court for recount, and counsel for the SOS stated that if Your Honor were to for whatever reason, order a recount that would take conservatively as many as 2, 3, perhaps 4 weeks, especially given the reduced presence of county and election officials, as opposing counsel for SOS did not object on any other ground. That reason is no more valid, as November election is over. In this case, therefore, court order manual recount is justified and requested. Petitioner has proved accessibility with evidence of scientific diagrams and verified declarations. To prove number of votes shifted and to prove specificity of malicious access in summation of vote count under 16100G, inspection of system, application, and database logs was requested. Petitioner's inspection was delayed, evaded, and denied. Now respondents argue accessing and accessibility, a distinction without difference. Inspection or recount will prove it. Petitioner asserts that all elements of fraud are met. CCP section 1710, misrepresentation, material facts, knowledge of falsity, intent to induce reliance, justifiable reliance, causation and damage. See, saw, page 25, paragraph 135, line 20. This misinterpretation of law is a serious matter of national significance, threatening our democracy and the Constitution. Your Honor, petitioner also most respectfully requests that court order to preserve evidence please be maintained until this matter is resolved on appeal. Therefore, at this crucial stage, petitioner once again requests inspection of logs or recount in greatest public interest. Thousands of people voted for petitioner. Thousands of people are seeking the truth. Petitioner wants to know the truth, and that's why a recount is justified for the truth, to protect greatest public interest and transparency of future elections. Most respectfully, Your Honor, part of the tentative ruling, page 15, para 1, line 3, is unclear. The fact that a computer system may have access to CVRs, which reflect the voter selection prior to the eve of the election, does not violate section 15101B. Your Honor, I understand your statement, but you haven't said why.
Are you finished?
Yes, Your Honor.
All
And
right.
thank you so much for your patience.
All right, thank you. Mr. Pohl?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. There was a lot there that petitioner said, but in essence, Your Honor, I heard nothing to change the court's tentative ruling. The court is clear in its tentative that the burden for petitioner is extremely high in this election contest matter. And quite simply, he has presented no admissible evidence to show that the results of the primary election would have been different but for this alleged, and I'll emphasize alleged, conduct. The petitioner mentions that he uses the word the truth, but his truth, Your Honor, is not based on any evidence, which is seen in the record, and it's seen throughout his brief, or I should say the absence of evidence. Quite simply, Your Honor, I've heard nothing that should change the court's tentative. The tentative is clear, and I would request that the court adopt its tentative in full. And that's my statement, Your Honor. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. But again, the County of Los Angeles respectfully requests that you adopt your tentative ruling.
Mr. Rob, would you like to respond?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you so much for the opportunity. We're talking about admissible evidence, Your Honor. Initially, when I was going through the discovery process, I did not have the diagrams, the official diagrams of the Smartmatic Tally, which I received through going through thousands of paper thousands of pages of irrelevant information, but I was able to get the operation manual, and I was able to get county bait diagram number 000000238. I don't know if you can see this. It is with you. This is the diagram, official diagram of the tele environment. And this is the one I attached it with the saw. Now, I haven't made this. This is from the county, and this clearly is admissible evidence, Your Honor. And with that, I've explained how the flow is going. But mainly, Your Honor, this is not anywhere close to where the violation of the election code 15101B is. 15101B has two sections. One, that it says, uses the word machine read and processing. But the controlling part of it says, under no circumstances may a vote count be accessed or released. So when they talk about the word processing, and they say scanning means processing, it doesn't say here, everything is good, other than the fact that it does not describe when does the part of scanning and machine reading starts. It doesn't say that, Your Honor. Even this Smartmatic tally VSAP was fine if it would have started functioning at 8 p.m. election night, because then it is exposing, decoding voter intent and everything, and that would have been fine because there would be no room for manipulation of days. It would have started at 8 p.m. It's a very fast machine. It does things extremely fast, and counting would not have taken that much long. But when you say machine reading, which is counting, and there's a very serious disagreement on the statute, because my position here, Your Honor, is that under no circumstances may a vote count be accessed or released until 8 p.m. So 8 p.m. is the defining time that has been declared here. And then we have to see the whole statute in one. We cannot take one part saying we can start scanning it 10 days before. Or 20. Processing is a different thing. When the ballots come in, you remove the ballot from the envelope, you scan and verify the signatures. That's a different thing altogether, because you're taking the ballot out, that's scanning. And they've themselves stated that in county respondent brief opposition to SAW, in para 17, line 3, scanning occurs after processing, which is the truth. They're two separate, totally separate processes. And it is done on a separate location or maybe in a separate room. But first comes the ballots, envelopes, they verify the signatures, and then they're segregated. And it is where they start machine reading the ballots before 8 p.m. This is where the whole complexity and the compromise of election integrity and transparency starts, Your Honor. Ballots are coming election night also. They are brought in, they are scanned, and they go through. But when you start scanning ballots 10 days, 7 days, 5 days before the election, for which there is no need to say that which saves time, no, Your Honor, these are, really, really fast scanners, and they're connected with the tally. If the scanner was not connected with the tally, it would be a different thing. It is 2 in 1. The moment it scans, instantly tally picks it up, decodes the voter intent, and it has read the ballot. The voter intent is already decoded. So to say that there is no admissible evidence is false. There is clear evidence, and the mere fact that they are violating, which my position is that scanning and machine reading the ballots before 8 p.m. Is malconduct.
All right, give me 1 second. I'm going to go off the record for a minute.
So Raji keeps referencing that in the opposition, which was Taylor J. Poll's writing, and their opposition to Raji's second amended writ, that they said processing and scanning are two different processes, and that's a big deal, because what 15101B says is that it's all about the processing. That's what 15101B is. It's all about processing, and then it says under no circumstances may a vote count be accessed or released. The whole meaning of that law is to prevent fraud from happening, to prevent early detection of the votes.
Yep. I was going to say too that that's where the language comes into play, where we're getting away from this. They shouldn't be able to say processing because it's broad, right? They should say canvassing. Canvassing is the process of opening them up, looking at it, checking the signatures, all that shit, and then moving on before tabulation. And that's what really needs to be specific in these laws, and that's why they leave it vague so they can get away with these loopholes. Because processing can mean multiple things, and Raji's kind of pointing that out, that, I'm saying that they're allowed to do this stuff, but they're not allowed to do this. At no point is a count allowed to be accessed. Well, if there's a count accessible, we need to be transparent in the truth. Show us the logs.
Show us the logs.
That's it.
If there's nothing, dude, they could shut and close this case if they actually showed the logs and say, "Hey, look, we did nothing." Right?
If they showed us the logs that day and showed us who accessed it, whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Look, nothing happened.
Nothing happened. Boom, we're on our way.
Yeah, Raji's out of the court. Okay, yeah, nothing happened.
But they're spending hours
They're
and
spending
hours
money,
and
dude.
thousands of dollars just
Private
to not
law firms.
to not let us see the logs.
So when we see this happening, it's really what Raji has a valid claim that under Election Code 16100A that there was malconduct. There was malconduct because 15101B was broken. 15101B is the one that we've been talking about, is that it says under no circumstances may a vote count be accessible. So his evidence for that is the fact that the scientific diagrams and his two expert declarations have declared that yes, that once you scan ballots, they're accessible.
All right, thank you, folks. I'm going to take the matter under submission. Yes, Mr. Pohl.
May I briefly respond, Your Honor, to what Mr. Rob said?
Yes.
Two things. One, I appreciate Mr. Rob's attempt to rely on statutory canons of interpretation, but to the extent that machine reading somehow equals access would render 1501 meaningless, Your Honor. Second thing, Mr. Rob characterized the tally system as, I believe, the Smartmatic system. And to the extent Petitioner is characterizing the system as some private proprietary system, he's incorrect. It is a county-owned and operated system. And those are my 2 points, Your Honor.
All right. Yes, Mr. Rob.
I'm not implying that, Your Honor. I said what I said. It is known that county has rights on the system, but I have to call it what it is. And also, I wanted to say that I totally disagree with what Mr. Paul just stated. And the fact is, I would like to just reiterate my point that I stated earlier.
You would like to what?
Reiterate what I said earlier, that 15101B, the violation of the statute is malconduct.
I understand. I understand your argument. I disagree with your argument, but I understand your argument.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take the matter under submission.
Your Honor, you did not explain my question that I'd asked you about page 15, para 1, line 3. You didn't explain why.
So I believe I've explained why, not only in this tentative ruling, but in previous rulings. I think that you just disagree with it. I have explained why that's what the tentative is about.
No, not the tentative, Your Honor. Just the fact that a computer system may have access to CVR, which reflects the voter selection prior to the eve of the election, does not violate Section 1. I was just trying to understand why, because you made a statement there.
And I believe I've explained that throughout the ruling, so you can read the ruling again. I'm going to take the matter under submission and issue a final ruling.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Wow, that was it? What the fuck?
Oh, dude. They zapped it for the ruling.
Yeah. No, this is what happens. The judge always makes the rule. She can make a ruling. She can hold the tentative ruling, or she can say, "I'm going to."
So obviously she doesn't agree
later.
So she's going to.
No, her whole ruling is that she doesn't agree with Raji.
Yeah.
And we can go through that. I mean, she's dude. No, but she's made some very dangerous language in there, where she's saying that she agrees that it's okay to scan before 8 p.m. election day, and she's
Well,
saying.
but isn't that in violation of what she just said?
I like the way that Raji called it Smartmatic. He could have went back and she's like, this is a privately owned by the company. It's like
He literally said it's public. What's his
sh-
face?
Well, yeah, it's publicly owned. That's what they keep saying and everything like that because they bought it. But he should have said, well, yeah, who made the software? Who has rights to the software?
Well, we can't
He
look
should have
into
put him out
it.
to that.
That's,
Yeah.
So that
'Cause
in itself is a
Smartmatic still owns
contradiction.
the software,
Right.
even though we own the machine.
That's why
We
we're
own the
here
hardware.
discussing this,
They
because
own the
if it
software.
was publicly accessible, we
Yeah.
wouldn't have this fucking conversation, would
Yeah.
we? Like, that guy sounded just like Jordan Chariton. Like,
Yeah.
I don't see any evidence here. I
Well,
was just
because-
presented with all this evidence, but I don't see any evidence
The
here.
evidence they want, that they keep saying that they want, is the evidence that somebody's hand went and manipulated the votes. That's the evidence that they want, and the judge agrees with that because that in a case, yeah, you need solid evidence, right? And Raji would get that if they gave him the inspection to the logs.
Yeah, it's what we're talking about
that's-
right now. Evidence-free conspiracy theories. Well, we don't have evidence because they won't let us look at it.
It's a catch-22.
Yeah.
You can't
don't
have
have
one
evidence
without
that they
the other.
won.
Yeah. Your evidence is that you keep denying people the right to access information that they're entitled to.
Yeah.
So that's my evidence for if you if he can see that and prove, oh yeah, he lost fair and square. Okay, great. But now there's a precedence where we are allowed to see that data that is ours. It's our fucking data.
Yeah. I would have told Raji when he was right there, and he goes, well, it's owned by the public, and I would have just interrupted him because, you're going to get ruled against again. So all she can say is, please, please, please. She's not going to hold you in contempt, but you say, well, if it's public, then show the public the logs. If it's public.
I've got Raji Rob on the line. We are live, Raji.
Hey, how are you? Did you see the...
Yeah, we watched the whole thing.
Yeah, and there was no response.
Oh,
Basically.
to them, all your claims? Yeah, I know.
Nothing. Especially the lines that we prepared last night, the one that you found.
Yeah.
That's the difference between the separate processing, scanning, and after that she just shut me up because she thought I'm going to just, probably take over the whole, turn the ruling around. She just blocked me. I still had time remaining.
Right. So you're live on the air. What do you want to tell people about what they just saw?
I would like to speak out the fact that the truth should be allowed to be heard. Now, it's not about Democrats. It's not about Republicans. I've been fighting this election fraud for the last 10 months in court through writ of mandate, which is supposed to be an expedited way to get justice. Justice reforms are very important. Here I'm fighting with all the evidence that you can imagine, evidence of documentation from the county, experts' declaration with 20 years of experience as database architects and programmers. And my evidence is set aside, and the evidence provided by the accused themselves, their declaration has been taken into account. So the declaration by respondent Logan and his assistant is being taken into consideration, and my experts' declarations that describe that votes were counted and scanned and decoded, and voter intent was decoded days before the election. That was not taken into account. So
Yeah.
I have challenged that, and I've told the court that I will be moving to the appeal court, and I would be taking this thing up. I also requested the court to preserve the court order ordering respondent to preserve evidence, so that this matter should not be tampered with or put in some backdrop when needed. We will be filing the appeal very, very soon. We have a strong case. You saw it. I'm sure all the viewers saw it. It was crystal clear that the opposition did not have any answers to the case that was presented to them. And the fact is that the election code 15101B is very clear. It does not allow ballots to be counted, scanned, or read before 8 p.m. election day. I made my case, and I hope you saw it. I hope you got to see all of it, because this time they put the YouTube on time.
Yeah,
We
I
watched
called.
it
I
all.
called to make sure. Yeah, we saw the whole thing.
Raji, I got a question right now. I just want you to reiterate to the people out there who are listening. At the end of the day, what you were trying to obtain more than anything was just simple data from the logs of who accessed the tabulation machines, and that's it for the public to see. Correct?
I explained a very simple thing, that I have the evidence through documentation from the manual of operations of those machines. All I need to prove the fact that who accessed it, at what time, and how many votes were shifted. I just need to look at the logs, system logs, application log, and database log. That's I need to look to confirm who did what. We have evidence the votes were accessed, but to prove exactly who did it, at what time, and how many votes were shifted, they would not allow me to access. It's a complete obstruction of justice. And I said, if you're not going to do that, then allow me a recount so we can prove it to you. But how can I prove you exactly who did it when I have the documentary evidence and you will not let me physically go and inspect the facility?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I also want to make a comment so you can comment back on the audience as far as when you called it Smartmatic, and then the private lawyer tried to say that, oh, this is a publicly owned VSAP machine and stuff like that. For the record, does Smartmatic control the software on these tabulation machines?
Yes. Yeah, the thing is, what they have done is they've labeled their name on it, but the reason they are nervous, and that's the reason I wanted to bring it to the court's notice and to the on the record, that this is Smartmatic machine. You may call it VSAP, you can call it anything you want, you can call it Bobby, but the fact is that this is a Smartmatic tally system, which is a danger to our elections, a danger to our democracy, and a danger to our Constitution.
Yeah. So we'll be following. We'll see what she rules, because she has to respond to your request to preserve the evidence.
That was so abrupt. Like,
yeah, that was like what,
expected.
like 30 minutes? That was like 35 minutes.
The moment she said, "I'm going to take he said about something about Smartmatic, and I said, "I know, Your Honor, but it is what it is. It is, this is what it's called." And you can call it whatever you want. But I just wanted to label the word Smartmatic on it, because they're trying to avoid, Smartmatic doesn't want to get into this controversy or the conflict, but they cannot avoid it. They are principally behind this, and whatever flaw there is, they have to own it, fix it, or refund the public money. We're talking about $300 to $350 million that can be used in so many venues of homelessness, education, COVID. But this has to be stopped. And, like a good British parliamentarian once said, for evil to triumph, good men must do nothing. But we are doing it, and we'll continue to do it. And I love Convo Couch, what you guys are doing. You have set such a high bar, and all applause to you, that I've not been able to get any attention for any of the media. This is the only lawsuit going on in a federal election for 10 months, and no newspaper, no media, any side of the aisle would cover it. You guys covering it, God bless you.
Well, thank you, Raji, and
Thank you, Raji.
we're gonna keep following you, and I'm glad that you pointed out Bobby is what we're gonna call the tabulation machines right now, right? So all we want to do is take a look inside Bobby's brains, and they wouldn't let us.
Yes. I love you guys. You're such a fantastic team, and you're out there for the people. I've seen a lot of news agencies, but the way you go out, selflessly, my heart goes out to you, and God bless you, and I'm with you through every step of the way for election integrity.
Thank you, Raji.
Thank you, Raji.
We'll talk soon.
We'll keep in touch.
Definitely,
Thank
buddy.
you.
Keep your head
Thank
up,
you so
buddy.
much. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Well, at least we did get a new name for the tabulation machines. You don't want to call them VSAP. You don't want to say it's Smartmatic.
Let's call him Bobby.
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 Ah, man. So,
Funny
Andrea,
to
she
chat.
said, thank you for turning me on to the right side broadcasting. I watched many of those hearings, in quotes, while working. They were the only ones showing the hearings. It was crazy. And it really does it speaks volumes, because there were some of the top software engineers across the board, software designers across the board, different states, multiple hearings. Javon Hutton Pulitzer, we talk about this guy who invented the QR code. You know what I'm saying? He goes way back, and even his testimony about getting into the machines via internet was so important that people just, oh, well, that's nothing. That's nothing. It's nothing. No, it's illegal if you can control these machines and account remotely. It changes the whole game.
Yeah, and how can the judge even say, oh yeah, the machine can access it? She said that in her order. It's okay that the machine has access, has accessibility. Who controls the machine?
Yeah,
Dean Logan.
Yeah.
And look at his history in Washington. And real quick, I just want to say that Raji, I don't know if you guys, this is kind of like history. Like, when has a candidate represented themselves in the court for an election fraud contest?
Yeah. Well, he's learned so many steps of the way. It's never happened. Most of these they get thrown out in a heartbeat. They don't even get looked at. The fact that he's been learning along the ways to get in there.
He's representing himself, pro se.
He's representing all of us, too.
Against a private law firm. And he represents us.
Because he's representing election
This is huge. This is huge. Like, the news should grab this, but they're not.
They're not going to grab it. That just goes to show you guys, like, this isn't, like, we're covering this guy. He ran as a progressive. I keep saying that because a lot of idiots want to call us, Nazis or white supremacist sympathizers for saying, hey, the general election showed lack of transparency. There's anomalies here, blah, blah, blah. Well, this is a guy who's running against a neoliberal who ran against Brad Sherman, who voted for, by the way, Trump's military budgets, war. Like, he's not great. You don't really hear about him. He's a war hawk, but you don't really hear about him. And he's in Sherman Oaks. Weirdly enough, he's in Studio City, that area. And Raji, this isn't about Republican or Democrat. He's like, this is about the election integrity, like us having access to our data. This is a fight for truth and justice. Like, this has nothing to do with any partisan BS. Like, this is, we're the only ones covering it. Nobody else is fucking covering it.
Ben Swan is the only one who's talked on the level that we want to talk about the whole process. In this particular case, I'm saying, but Ben Swan's the only other one. Noah says, I got 5 on it, but check this comment out, guys, because I want to say something, because it's Andrew again. Is there any way to infiltrate the Bobby machines by his experts to gather the evidence needed? If, in fact, and we know they can be infiltrated, Commander X, anonymous, whistleblower in Mexico, talked about it, did it years and years ago. They've been able to do this for a long time. But anybody who infiltrated this stuff would spend years and years behind bars.
Oh, yeah.
Messing with the tabulation machines, breaking into the tabulation machine via remotely. They'd spend years and years behind bars. And the evidence that we got would never be able to be brought to light. They would never let us show that. And if we received that data, like WikiLeaks, they might put us behind bars for receiving that data.
Right now, because Julian Assange is behind bars.
So, the fact is that we are flying in the blind. And like I said, we did a report on this. Alex Padilla is now implementing more laws that his new Secretary of State will take over to further suppress the public, candidates, experts, activists, from getting this data on the registration polls beforehand.
And his the new Secretary of State is Javier Becerra.
Is he?
I think so.
I said I guessed it would be Javier
Becerra. I think it is. I'm not 100% certain, but I think it is. That's what I heard from the Democratic Party. And people, a lot of the neo-progressives were like, oh, he's for Medicare for All. No, actually, he was one of the people that worked alongside to throw out SB 562, which was the guy who ran against Maria Estrada. He was like the actual pusher of that. Okay, State Assembly member Anthony Rendon. And this is all relevant because you see how these connections are made. Now I'm connecting Medicare for All, and these goons are not going to be pushing that in the state. Trust me, they're not. And then we talk about Julian Assange. If we were to receive information that could help Raji, we could be prosecuted under the Espionage Act, just like Julian Assange is being prosecuted for demanding the integrity of our elections. This is why when people try to separate things, it's all connected. Yeah. We need to unite as a people across the board against this corruption, because what you're witnessing today is actual corruption, and nobody is saying anything except you guys who are witnessing this yourselves. This is why we're so passionate about this, because we know when people say, like, this is conspiracy, it's like, how is this conspiracy, dumbass?
Somebody, Jasper Jaguar says, Greg Powers was writing books about the unaudible voting machines in 2001, and now he's gone away from it.
Yeah, he's not talking about it.
Now the machines are supposedly fixed themselves.
I'm sick of people bringing up Greg Powers. Look, dude, Like, I'm so sick of people bringing up Greg Palast. Greg Palast, we've had him on the show multiple times. He is not there when it comes to this stuff. Like, we noticed it right away. We were like, oh shit, like he's talking about voter suppression, and that's good. That's a real thing.
And
Nobody's saying it's not, and it happens. But when we're talking about machinery, when we're talking about mail-ins, when we're talking about all this stuff, he's not on it anymore. I'm not going to say why or why not. I'm just saying we talked to a lot of people in the election integrity community, and they agree with us on that note. So when people bring that up to kind of dismiss what we're doing, it doesn't make any sense because you're talking about one aspect only. You're not talking about all the other aspects.
One of the first people, like I said, I'm writing that article. I'm going to do it to a little handbook, little guidebook. And I'm going to have two people, one on the left, one on the right, write the forwards for it. The one on the left, when she sat me down to tell me about election integrity and teach me. And it's so funny because we went through bad times and now we're back on it together and we talk a lot and stuff. One of the first things she taught me when she sat me down was like, all right, Pasta, look at it this way. They're going to attack in multiple ways, 5, 6, 7, 8 ways. So when the election integrity catch up to 3 of them or 4 of them, they got the other 4 scams going. So that made me open up my mind to say you have to look at every single aspect of the elections. In fact, it was myself, after the Pete Buttigieg, Amy Klobuchar dropping out for California and Joe Biden getting a lot of those votes, and I was like, wait a second, this is just funny. I started looking into the mail-ins. And then Raji's case came, and he got a lot of information from the mail-ins. So we were able to collaborate together, but we started tracking down these people. Like, you have to look at every single angle of the elections. Where the mail-ins come from, who writes those ballots, who sends them out, where do they go back to? Is there a process for destroying them publicly, the ones that aren't used? No, they can just be handed off. Why is ballot harvesting bad? So somebody can grab all these ballots and walk them in? What about the tabulation machines? What's the software? When do they process these things? Who collects them? Where's the chain of custody? How do we verify the signatures? Are the signatures okay? Is it done legit? I mean, there's so many aspects of elections that you have to pay attention to all of them. So you can't just say, oh, it's voter suppression. They're taking black and brown people off the voter rolls. We know suppression exists. The first article we wrote was about the primaries and how they were suppressing people. And the main people we were talking about them suppressing was Latino workers here in East Los Angeles, pushing them to provisionals. You know what I'm saying? We saw it. We witnessed it. We saw so many people just anxious and happy to vote for the first time, having all their paperwork together, ready to go, and they push them into provisionals. Then we went and visited. We couldn't film there, and we saw where the provisionals go. And fam, in your expert opinion, as you're a TV lawyer with those glasses now, a TV doctor, TV lawyer, did they count the majority of those provisionals? Was it even possible? We were in the room for over a couple hours. Was it even possible for them to get through all those? No way.
They did. No way did they. Because we went in that room. It was hundreds of thousands of ballots. I mean, you go into that room and you're like, and we couldn't take any pictures. We couldn't take any video. We couldn't. But when we were looking at the names, the vast majority of the names with the pink slips, because these are the pink ones, that were Latino names, were non Caucasian names like John Smith. It was a bunch of Latino people, and we witnessed it in the poor districts where there was not a lot of people on staff. The machines weren't working. Everybody got a
20 minutes
provisional
to process a ballot.
Everybody got a freaking provisional ballot.
And then we found out that wasn't even the final. It gets pushed into another pile. It still needs to be approved. I did see some Southern Italian names on those provisional ballots, fam.
And that's the machine alongside too with it too, because the machines weren't up to the minimum standards. There's been countless studies done on these machines that were used in California and in other states. They were not up to the standards. The recommendation was for them not to be used.
Yeah.
So it's not just, they're giving provisional ballots. It's because they're instructed. It's the machines were faulty and pushed through being used without meeting the standards. That's fraud. Yeah. Just based on that. And you shouldn't be pushing machines. Then go back to the old school then if the machines aren't working. You can't do that. And this is what I mean. There's different aspects of it. We talk about all of them. We're not just gonna say, this is just a one-sided thing.
Yeah, yeah. And what you were talking about in particular, we talked about this too as well. They had these new VSAP machines, which were made by Smartmatic. The tabulation machines, all that really matters is the tabulation machines. A ballot marking device, you know what I'm saying? It's not a direct voting system. So when the ballot's supposed to come out and you should see it and then you put it right back in. But that mechanism device jammed like 1 out of every 100 times. That's completely illegal. I think the minimum could be, according to election laws, is 1 out of every 900 times. So you're talking about the fact is, and it came into play. Why? It keeps jamming. They got to shut it down. Here's a provisional instead.
Yep.
Now, if you got 50 machines in a nice Glendale area where they bring you a cup of green mint tea with a little honey or agave, when you're voting. And literally, we go into these areas and they have all these machines, all these helpers. They have tea, bagels, all the whole nine things. Then you go to East Los Angeles and they got 10 machines and 5 of them are not working because the machine is jammed. What are you going to do? You're going to start pushing people into provisionals. And that's how you get away with the working class voting for the working candidate. And that was Bernie Sanders, especially in California. So, I mean, they pull out all the tricks. And
college universities too. They'll have like 5 machines for a college campus of 30,000 people. That's what Melissa ran into. She had to form a bus to start pushing people to another location, or they wouldn't have made it to vote on time. And all these college kids, who were they voting for? Gee, I don't know.
Yeah.
They weren't voting for Joe Biden. I'll tell you that much.
Bernie Sanders is who they were voting for, and they got a lot of pizza while waiting. There was that pizza line. It was so funny. If you wanted to see where the jams were, you just look at that pizza website. In other words, there was this pizza website where rich people or people who have a few bucks can throw a few bucks in. They tell you to stay in line and vote, and you can order pizza, and they bring it to you in line.
Yep.
Well, we looked at that pizza line in Los Angeles. It was longer, and then in Austin, too, as well. And it was like people hours and hours getting pizza brought to them. And it was all in the poor areas, all in the colleges. It was people who were going to vote more progressively than conservatively. And I still will say this again. We never knew how Joe Biden got all those mail-in votes when Amy Klobuchar and Pete Buttigieg dropped out the day before.
Right.
That something is going on. Something is going on here, fam. The radical left is doing something here, fam. We need to look at them. QAnon is not real. Robbie R is here. Why is the conspiracy? Can you debunk Jordan's claim? What's that? Why is this conspiracy? Can you debunk Jordan's claim? What is Jordan's claim?
That this is conspiracy.
Oh.
And that their claim is also that this is QAnon. How is this QAnon? You guys are watching what this is. It's the same thing that happened in the general. And you have to understand the Secretary of State controls the elections in the state, right?
Yeah.
Okay. For the general specifically too. In general, they whether it's the primary or the general, they're always the head election official
of the state.
This guy, Alex Padilla, in 2016 was literally fundraising for Clinton as his job while having the job as Secretary of State, where he's supposed to be non-biased. He was extremely biased, extremely anti-Sanders, and that was 2016. He was still the Secretary of State this time around. He's a neoliberal Democrat. Are you going to tell me that it's fair? No, it's obviously not, you guys.
Remember what happened in 2016? Bernie was going to win California, and then Hillary won.
Yeah, and then they started flipping states and whatnot, too, as the time went along, because the process here in California is so long. By the way, denying election science is like denying climate science. It's really almost the same thing. Oh, we got cracks in the ice and stuff like that, but how do you know it's from man-made?
Yeah.
Huh? Could be something else. We have irregular voting patterns over here. We have mathematical anomalies. How do you know people didn't vote that way? Denying election science is like denying climate science, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, do we have the evidence? No, we're not allowed to look into our transparent machines. But we have all these voting irregularities, all these patterns, these statisticians that mark down to say, hey, something's wrong here with these ballots. We have
evidence in the sense that we have evidence to know that something's up.
Yeah.
We have evidence to know that something's up. We can't for sure 100% say it was rigged because we can't look into these machines. Now, so if we have enough evidence to say something's up, we should be allowed to look into these machines. We should be allowed to question them, and then we can see if what we're saying is true or not. But that's the argument. You can't. It's a two-step process because it's a catch-22. We're not allowed to look at evidence. So how can we prove anything? Yeah. We don't have any power. So to say that you don't have the evidence, well, we have adjacent evidence. We have enough evidence to question this and to say, hey, let us look into the machines. That's enough evidence. Yeah. Why are you so invested in keeping this a secret then if you have nothing to lose? Public information.
Just like this case. Just like this case. All we're saying is, look, we want the logs. And they use the same kind of freaking fugazi language where they said, well, there's not enough foul play to affect the results of the election.
Okay,
that's what they said in the ADEMS. No, that's terrible. If there is fraud involved, David Atkins, then you have to recall the election and do another one, or throw out the results, or find out who's cheating. That's the way it goes.
Well, yeah.
You can't, if there's fraud that we know, you can't say, well, there's not enough fraud.
Well, if there's not enough evidence, then okay, so let's look at it.
No. If one ballot was miscounted or not counted, or there was fraud on one ballot, then the whole election has to be
If somebody's if that's all we know about, we know there's fraud, and that's all we know about. There could be a shit ton more fraud. And once again, the people, what about the audits? What about the recounts? The audits are a joke. The recounts are a joke.
Why are the audits a joke, Pasta?
Because they're not real audits. They don't really check the signatures, whatnot. It's not a real audit. It's a recount, most of them, okay? And all they do is recount the ballots that already made it through, that were already processed, whatnot. So those can be, once again, fugazi ballots because they weren't scrutinized for their signature. You don't know where they came from. It's a joke. The whole process is a joke. And we've heard from people who were down there in Georgia who were saying, yeah, this recount is a complete joke. They won't give us an independent third-party audit. They don't do that anywhere, where a third party can come in that's neutral. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. We're a service. We're going to go here. We're going to do an audit for you, and we're going to do it publicly and let you see it. It's never done like that.
Supposedly, for the VSAP tally system, that new system, there was two third party certifications, and they referenced in the opposition to Raji's merit the Secretary of State's certification conditional approval letter. That's all they referenced. They didn't show the lab report. They didn't show what the lab was saying. They didn't show what the third party was saying.
That's crazy.
They have the opportunity to show.
They don't even show it.
They just showed Alex Padilla's statement. Oh yeah, these are conditionally approved.
That's what they did in Michigan with their little. They had a sample size of an audit. Somebody was able to go to one of the counties, look at two machines, look at the software. They stopped them from producing those results to the public. Say, you can't talk about that. That's proprietary software. That's proprietary information. And they wouldn't let them do it. They had to leak out little bits of it. And this guy was like, it's way off. It's like way, way off. Something is wrong with these machines. We should go through the ballots and audit them properly, make sure the signatures are. But that's the thing. When you have a system when it's so ripe for fraud, when you could just ballot harvest and walk these things in, you don't know where these ballots are coming from. You don't know where they're at. And like states like Washington were like, oh, we do an all mail-in thing. It works. I'm like, no, you don't, because you don't have any audit process. You have zero auditing process, so you don't know where those ballots are coming from. If they're legit, you don't know.
Joe Biden won King County, Seattle. Like King County, Seattle.
Come on, guys.
Where Bernie Sanders, I think, had one of his largest rallies of all time. Joe Biden did not win King County.
And that's the thing, is that they understand.
That's where Dean Logan was.
They're so... Yeah, that's where he's from. By the way, DJ Elf. What up, Elf? My dog, F mainstream. F the mainstream media. I need news I can trust. You get it here, Elf. Elf on the shelf. Anyways, what I was trying to say is that about the election process, and I also lost my chain of thought. What were we talking about?
Logan, Washington.
No, when you have a system where it's just that it's so rampant that these ballots can come in, you can't verify them. You don't know where they're at. And people talk about Washington like, okay, it's an all mail-in system. It works. But you don't know where those ballots are coming in from. And that is the problem right now. We have to secure our elections. We can't give up comfortability. We can't give into comfortability to get away from our integrity. We have to have integrity in our elections.
Well, and I don't want to punish the voter,
23 countries, by the way, I'm so sorry. There's a reason why, I remember when I said, there's a reason why 23 countries have banned mail-in ballot. Go ahead.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, I don't think we should fight. I don't think we should disenfranchise people to do that. I think I think the solution is to actually use that to say, well, then we need security. If you don't want people to have to come in with an IT, if you don't want people to have to, like, the voter to be punished, then we need security, so then we can make it easier for people to vote. Right now, it's like under the guise of making it easier for people to vote, they're doing things that have zero security, like ballot harvesting. And the moment somebody speaks out against it, they're like, oh, you want to disenfranchise all these people, the old lady and the grandma, and the person that doesn't know. It's just like, if I had an election system where we could see our information, I'd have zero problem with it if there was a chain of custody. But because we don't have any of those things, you can't just do that. So now it's like, well, if you want to do that, then let's revamp it, the whole thing. Let's make it all public, and let's make us be able to track our ballots, just like we can track our Uber food. And we can track any delivery that we get to our house, our Amazon package. Then, of course, let's do that. But no, because we don't have that security. You see, like I have to explain that, because then I don't want people to think like I want to put all these rules for people to vote, because I definitely do not. But I think we need to then, if you're not going to do that, then we need to revamp our whole system, because right now they're taking advantage of that to use it against us and to decide and select who it is, whether it's president, whether it's the Congress. You're going to keep seeing this happen over and over again.
Yeah. And see, like, these people sitting down, Johnny's going to show them, this is like a stack of certain ballots that need further verification, right? They already run them through the Periscript machine off to the side.
These ballots are damaged or whatever,
Have to be
and
remade
they're remaking them. So
Yeah,
I'm
remake
saying
them.
they remake them right there in this printer.
Yeah, they can remake
Who's
ballots.
monitoring this whole place?
Well, here's the thing:
Seeing if
there's
they're-
no two parties there, Democrat and Republican. These are just a bunch of people who just got hired to just do a job like an assembly line, and there's no security here. There's no scrutiny over here whatsoever. And the thing about it is that in California they dupe a lot of people to think that it's all about inclusivity, getting more people to participate.
yeah.
But then they use all these extra ballots that are really fugazi and fake and not really from the people to vote against progressives that are trying to run, like Raji Rab, like Angelica Duenas, like Maria Estrada. It takes a lot of guts for them to show up that day to do what they did, because a lot of people can say they're babies and whatnot, but Tony Cardenas hasn't been seen in his district since 1973, and I think he was born in 69, so, I mean, he's, he hasn't been seen there at all. I mean, and Brad Sherman was never around and whatnot, and these people are put in a certain place. There's a reason why these same people always vote for the military-industrial complex. They always vote for the security state. It's not hard. I mean, how can you think for 1 second that you can have such a corrupt government, but they're not capable of cheating elections, especially a general election? And to think that the Democrats are just only going to cheat primary, the counties which were under question were heavily Democratic populated areas, which controlled a lot of those elections. So, by the way, Accidental Activist says, "We are the media," and Roar Media said, "Convo Couch, you are the press. Thank you so much." On the Rokfin, Super Rays, Chuck. How do I start this in my county? Flip blue for the first time in 40 years. Tarrant County, Texas.
You need somebody like Raji Rob, because he's bringing that. He's doing this on his own. Like it's expensive. Number one, I mean, the fact that he's saving himself a few bucks by being his own lawyer. But I mean, imagine how much money it would take to do what he's been doing for the last 10 months.
Yes.
Most people can't afford it, but what you can do is, at the very least, raise awareness to this issue. If you want to start looking into it, going to your Secretary of State's office and whatever Dean Logan is the registrar, the head of the registrar.
Recorder, county clerks.
They have different names in different counties.
Not only just a lot of money, fam. A lot of time.
A lot of time.
A lot of
Yep.
time. A
A
lot,
lot
of
of
thinking,
reading.
A lot of resourcing. A lot of knowing your way around the legal system.
Yeah. And he had to learn. Trial by error. Quinn says, "I love a good pasta party, a Fiorella fiesta, and a Johnny Jam sesh. Bring the house down, friends." Quinn, we love you, Quinn.
We would bring down the house,
Chuck.
not join it and call Mama Bear or call Pelosi Mama Bear.
All right, so should we take a little break real quick, and then we'll
Yeah.
come on back with our main show? I got to go get my plug to plug in my computer. Guys, we're going to be back in about how long? 30, 40 minutes? We'll be back in 30, 40 minutes. We're going to do a great show today. We have some stuff to talk about. What'd you put in the folder? Because I put in some Fred Hampton stuff, finding that it went all the way to the top, the order of the execution, the assassination of Fred Hampton. And it's important because we got to understand how the isms, the whatever groups that end in, what do you call them, three abbreviations?
Oh, 3-letter agencies.
The 3-letter agencies, how they have so much control on what's going on and stopping movements for the people. And it's very important that we connect those dots. So,
All right, fam, we'll be right back.
see you in 30, 40.